guys, Peter from Pete's Tools. Today I want to talk about plasma cutters and plasma cutter torches, the difference between a pilot arc and a non-pilot arc torch. When I first got started doing this sort of stuff, cutting up steel and all the rest of it, I didn't really know the difference and didn't really know what I needed. So anyway, here's just a quick video and I'll give you a few pointers on both, and it might help you decide what you need to buy, or might help you understand what the difference is, if there is a difference. Right guys, so here we have like a standard HF torch. It's PT31. This is my favourite torch, if you haven't guessed by now. It's really cheap consumables, and they're easy to replace, and no, they're really good. They're just a generic Chinese torch really, but this is an HF torch, high frequency start. And on the other end of this cable, if I can just show you here, you see here we've got our air, or whatever you're running through it. I run compressed air. And here, this other 2-wire cable here is just a simple on-off switch. Basically, it's just 2 wires in there that when you pull the trigger on your gun like that, all that does is connect the circuit and it turns on your compressed air or whatever you're using, and then it starts to cut. Right, now I'll show you where that plugs into your machine. Just give me a second, I'll grab it. My old machine here. Here's my old plasma cutter. As you can see, it's an old Cut 40, good old machine. So like here we have there where the compressed air screws into. Here, just screw it in like so. Once again, this is an HF, high frequency start machine. Screw your compressed air in there, put that in there for your on off switch on your torch, your 2 wires, your on off switch, and this is just your earth lead. So you just put your earth lead in there like so. You got your earth cable, goes in there like so, and there you go. You got your earth, you got it all set up, and you're all ready to go. Now the only disadvantage with these, I find, is if you're cutting rusty, dirty, painted steel or something, because what this machine does, the HF start machine, what that does is when you ground your torch, like my torch here, say if I was cutting this piece of plate here, when you put that on your piece of plate, then it connects that to your machine through your earth, and then it starts the arc. Right, it's a high frequency start. So what you have to do, basically, because you know how you put your earth clamp on your steel, whatever you're cutting, you put the torch on there, you pull the trigger, completes the circuit, and then your plasma arc starts, and then you can start cutting. But if it's rusty or it's painted or something like that, then the steel from your earth, where you've got it here, to your gun does not make a good enough contact. And I don't know if you guys have ever tried, sometimes you have to go like that to get it to start. Sometimes called scratch start as well if you're TIG welding. Sometimes you have to do that, or sometimes you have to get a grinder and grind a lump off. And then even when you're cutting, once you start cutting, you hit the rust again and it goes a bit sort of manky. It doesn't cut properly again. So that is a high frequency start torch. Now, if you're cutting new steel, or you're prepared to clean up your steel or whatever, then this is perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. But then what happens is, if you want to cut rusty steel or you want to cut painted steel, then you need a torch like this. Now this is a this here is 80 to 100 amp pilot arc torch. Now if we look at the plugs on this, we have the same as the HF start one. We have this for your air supply. We have this for your on-off switch. It's exactly the same 2 things here. But we also have this now. Now that is the pilot arc wire. What that does is, you still need your earth cable on there, but what that does is it allows your torch to start when you pull the trigger. You don't have to have it in contact with the steel that you're cutting. So what I'm saying is, when you pull your trigger on a pilot arc torch, then the flame shoots out of here without you having to touch anything, which is a lot better when you're cutting steel and other bits and pieces. If you want to know more about this style torch, click above. I've got a video up there explaining all about the P80 torches and that sort of thing. And yeah, so that's basically the difference in a nutshell. And the difference inside the torches, I'll show you in a second. I'll show you inside both of these torches and you can see exactly what I mean, how the difference is. Now, what I find is the consumables for the pilot arc are a little bit more expensive than the consumables for an HF start. But it all depends what you want, and it all depends what sort of steel you're cutting. Anyway, I'll go and I'll pull these torches to bits and you can have a look. So here we have the P80 torch, the pilot arc P80 torch. Now you could use this is just a generic Chinese torch. You could use it to replace machine 60 up to 100 amp probably. But they have to be pilot arc. So we'll pull it to bits and we'll have a look and I'll show you. Just bear with me for a second. Right, now this is the pilot arc version of it. So what we'll do is we'll take the ceramic off first. Ceramic's off like that, and you see here we got the nozzle, just your normal nozzle here, and your electrode in there, and here we have a brass fitting. Alright, so if we pull this to pieces, take that off. Put them like that. And I hope you guys can see this. Right, here we have the internals of the torch. We have a switch which goes to your plug. This plug here, which is your 2-pin plug that goes in the machine like I showed you. We have your air line here, which is braided and it's shielded as well. And then we have this wire here, which is your pilot arc wire, which is this wire here that goes onto your machine. Right, now if I take this off, I'll show you. So these are just basic torches. These are cheap torches, they're good torches. Like I say, there's a link up above if you want to have a look. Now you see this wire here goes into the torch body here, and I'll show you why. So why that is this wire here. You can see your green wire here. Now if we take this off, right, now this is your cutting tip, like so, and this is your electrode. Now what happens is when you run your compressed air through it and you run it through your plasma machine, you get the arc, the frequency for the arc, and what it does is it jumps between here and the top of here. So there is a minute distance between, when you screw that up, there is a minute distance inside here between your electrode and your tip. And when you pull the trigger and you get the electrical current coming through it, and that compressed air runs up there, it forces that current to jump like a spark plug in a car between these 2 points, and then your compressed air or whatever gas you're using pushes the flame out like so. And it's exactly the same on HF or on pilot arc. Now I'll show you where this wire goes. So we'll take the electrode out as well. Take the electrode out. I hope you can see that, guys. Now what we have here, guys, is this wire comes up here, goes in there, up there, and it grounds to here. And if you can see inside there, I don't know if you can see inside there or not, there is an insulator built into the torch here that separates the holder of your electrode to the outside of the cutting tip. Right? So when you pull your trigger, this goes up there, and that basically what that does is it's tricking the gun into thinking that it's already earthed, because it doesn't need the earth to complete the circuit. So then your flame shoots out here. I hope you understand that. It's probably as clear as mud, guys, but anyway, that's what I try to understand. And yeah, so this here, basically the principle is, if you've got a pilot arc torch, you push your button on your torch, right, the flame shoots out of here without you having to touch your steel or anything like that. So that's ideal for cutting rusty stuff or whatever, because you've already got a flame that you can blow through it and you don't need to make contact with the steel. Ideal. But like I say, the consumables for these are a little bit more expensive than the consumables for the high frequency start. So anyway guys, I'll pull a high frequency start under pieces and show you. Alright guys, this is a PT31 HF torch. This is probably my favourite torch. They're about the cheapest one you can get to replace on your HF machine, and they run about the cheapest consumables that I could find anyway. So if you want some more info about this torch, just click the link above there. I've got an in-depth video about them and their consumables and where to get them and all that good stuff. But anyway, I'll show you this torch. So we'll pull this one to pieces and we'll compare them to the other one. So we've just got a basic ceramic, we've got a cutting tip, we have a swirl ring, ceramic swirl ring like the other one I showed you. Remember, it was built into the torch. This is a lot simpler version. And we have a double-ended electrode, so you can use it one way, and when you burn it out you can just use it the other way. So we'll get into it and we'll pull it to pieces and we'll see what makes it tick. Alright, so we'll pull them to bits. If I don't drop it everywhere. Oh, look at that, I got it off without dropping the screws. That's amazing for me. Right, so what we have here is, we have your head, your torch head here. Now we'll come along here. Note there's no wire going into this. It's just a straight for your ear. That hooks onto your ear on your machine. Your switch, your two wires that go to your plug. Like I showed you before, go to that plug here. This here is braided and it goes to your gas supply or your air or whatever you're using here. Note that that other wire is absent because this torch here, like I said, needs the earth to complete the circuit. So you have to touch your tip onto your steel to complete the circuit to get the flame to fly out the end of it. Now the only disadvantage with this torch, like I say, apart from cutting horrible rusty steel and that sort of thing, is that when you go to start, they recommend, well I recommend too, that you drill a hole in whatever you're cutting first so you can touch your electrode so it blows the plasma arc through the steel when you start cutting. Otherwise it ruins the life of your consumables. Really, you only get about half the life out of your consumables, because if you're blowing a hole through here, then the plasma, before it cuts through your steel, comes back up and goes into your torch. Like if you imagine that there's steel and you haven't got a hole in it and you're trying to blow a hole through it so you can start cutting, then the plasma comes straight back up into the torch and burns out the end of your electrode before you even start. So that's the only disadvantage. But what I do is I got a little trick there, and I just use an old one of these to blow the hole through first, and just change them and then start cutting, and it tends to last a lot longer. But yeah, so I hope you know the difference there. I hope it wasn't too bloody confusing for you. So it's not really confusing at all, really. It's just that if you don't know whether your flame shoots out or not first before you earth it, then in your torch there's another wire here that goes onto your plasma machine. And if you've got a plasma cutter that is pilot arc, you will have not only 3 connections on it, you'll have 4 on the front. You'll have one for your switch, you'll have one for your whatever gas you're running, which I'm running compressed air. You'll have one for your earth clamp, and then you'll have another one for your pilot arc lead, and it's just a little screw-on switch. But it's all pretty basic, guys. So I hope you've learned something. I could totally confuse myself talking about it, but hope it's a bit more than clear as mud. And remember, if you like my videos, to subscribe. If you've got anything to say, drop a note down below. I'll be glad to have a yarn with you. And yeah, until next time, guys, have a great, safe day. Cheers.